Hello, greetings, or ba weep, grana weep, nidibon. This is my 100th video, and this is something new. I don't really like showing my face on camera, but actually I was just recently paid to do that for another channel, and I won't link it, but if you're clever enough you can find it. So I just wanted to do a video to say thank you. It's my, again, 100th video. I didn't think I'd ever kind of do that much. And also I got 100 subscribers. A couple years ago I just did a video of my so-called nerd cave, my otaku room, and it just kind of grew from there. I started doing videos of my trips to Japan and various shops, and I appreciate the kind of feedback that I've received. Tonight, I just got back from the Phoenix Comic-Con. I was there since Thursday night, and it was really, really cool. I even got to help a friend run his table in the exhibit hall, and that was kind of an interesting experience. My friend and I, we were at a pizza joint around sundown, and that was tonight, and we were just kind of talking about it. It'd be kind of cool to just relive the whole experience, but just people watch. When there's so much to do, there's so many celebrities and all these different interesting panels discussing comic books, science fiction, animation, you name it. It was just really, really cool to just check out people walking by and the interesting costumes and such. It doubled from, like, I think in 2009 there was like maybe 7,000 attendees, and then last year was like 14. It doubled. My estimate is probably maybe double again, if not even more. It was huge. I didn't think the Phoenix Comic-Con was ever going to get this big. I think people will start to realize that, I mean, if this year is any indication that this could be very well be a decent substitute for the San Diego Comic-Con. So check this out. This is really great. Bruce Boxleitner was there. Bruce Boxleitner was there, and I got his signature on my 20th anniversary DVD. That was pretty cool. Got a bunch of other signatures. I'll do a video of all the stuff from Comic-Con later on. But anyhow, again, it was just really cool. Just the whole geeky, nerdy energy and such. So, I want to talk about geeks and nerds. So there's a lot of discussion about what the difference is between a geek and a nerd is. I did see a video by, her name is PandyFackleresque, I believe I'm saying that right, and she was talking about this book here, American Nerd, Story of My People by Benjamin Nugent. Interesting book. I got it, I think, on Monday, and I finished it up right before Comic-Con started on Thursday. Just breezed through it in a couple of days. It was interesting. For me, I might consider myself like a real geek or nerd, whatever you want to call it, but I've never done a single Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing, or especially not Magic the Gathering. I really don't care for those card games. I might be interested in Dungeons and Dragons. I think I did a role-playing once. It was Robotech, and that was like in high school. That was a long time ago. I just played one game, and I just like, I don't know if I really liked it or not. Anyhow, this book was really interesting from a perspective of a kid who grew up doing that kind of stuff, and I kind of really identified with his real anti-sports attitude. I kind of really developed that in high school. I learned a lot. It was kind of interesting, and at the same time, there's a lot of stuff I disagree with it in here. It was some stuff actually upset me in this, like Brian Eno, music for airports. He's really cool. He's like really into he's done a lot for the ambient music scene. What is a nerd? A nerd is a human being without enough Africa in him or her. That's just pretty. I think that's crap. I mean, if people have to bring in race and stuff like that, that's just really divisive, and it's not fair to anybody. I just disagree with that. The guy, it says here, the story of my people. I think the guy kind of, I think he kind of forfeit the rights to say my people, especially because he has, since the age of 14, endeavored to distance himself from the whole nerd thing, and he basically just screwed two best friends of his, and that was it. And he wanted to be cool, so he just just walked away from them. And I thought that was really terrible. I thought that the book could have been written better. I mean, the guy spends an entire chapter on the autism spectrum, linking nerd personalities to autistic behaviors like Asperger's syndrome. You hear people say Asperger's. I don't know, Asperger. I've only read it. I'm ignorant. I don't want to sound stupid, but I think I just did. He spends a whole chapter on that, but he doesn't even go into IQ or anything like that. It's kind of, it really could have been better. It was an interesting read, but I don't know, rent it from the library if you can. I got it for super cheap on Amazon. It was okay. So anyhow, about geeks and nerds, I guess I'll share how I, came to realizing my nerdiness and coming to accept it, and just kind of go from there. The difference between a geek and a nerd. I found this really cool Venn diagram on the internet, and I guess I could show it to you. So, Cambot, put this up on Still Store. Okay, this is a Venn diagram. This is Logic 101 type stuff. If you've never seen a Venn diagram, I guess I can briefly describe. You got like three circles here, and you look at, see how they intersect. Now, understanding Venn diagrams, if everybody could understand Venn diagrams, we could really end a whole lot of bigotry in this world. It really will help people understand the fallacy of logical shortcuts. You see, there's three circles: intelligence, obsession, and social ineptitude. So, where they all three of them intersect, that's where you get a nerd. Okay, a lot of people like to say that they're geeks. They don't like to say that they're nerds. They just say that they're geeks. Geek is, according to this diagram, I'm not totally sure if I really 100% agree with this, but it certainly helps, I think. Someone who has the obsession and intelligence. Of course, intelligence, I don't need to explain that. Obsession is you're obsessed with stuff. I mean, some people could be obsessed with golf or fishing. Obviously, people don't give others crap for that kind of stuff because that's like the so-called, normal stuff. So, if a normal tard is into, basketball and basketball cards or something like that, then people are like, oh, okay, that's fine. But if you are into collecting Pokemon trading cards or something like that, then, yeah, my 5-year-old likes that, I guess. Okay, yeah. And then they distance themselves from you really quickly. Obsessive. I think I'm obsessive. I mean, like, when I'm going off on a vacation, I will, like, double check and maybe even triple check to see if my doors are locked properly. I just kind of obsess with stuff. When I went to go see the Lord of the Rings movie, the first one, Fellowship of the Ring, I was picking out different little things like, I noticed, like, Gandalf's sword, Glamdring, is also an elven blade, and therefore glows blue in the presence of orcs. However, they omitted that from the movie. Oh my crap, how can they just forget that? They just glossed over that. Why would they do that? I obsess about stuff. So, obviously, video games, science fiction, you name it. I'm into that kind of stuff. So, social ineptitude. Obviously, you're socially awkward. You just don't fit in with, like, so-called normal people. That would mean that you're probably, you're towards that part of the circle there. I think introversion really plays a big part of this. Growing up, I was so shy and introverted. but I reject the notion that being an introvert is a social dysfunction. The difference is, I've had to explain this to people too for some reason. I don't know why. People don't know this. Extroverts gain energy through interacting with others, whereas introverts draw power from spending time alone. Now, not every introvert is shy. I've overcome a lot of my shyness. Obviously, I'm putting up videos on YouTube, so that, I'm certainly different than when I was like 16 years old, that's for sure. But yeah, like I said, introverts, they draw power from themselves, and a lot of times if I spend a whole lot of time with other people constantly, it really drains my energy. But I guess in this respect, introverts have a power that extroverts do not have. That they can be more self-reliant, that they will be able, they don't have to depend on others really to enjoy their time. Introverts maybe read books more, I suppose. Now, if you look at the circles here, look at, like, okay, for example, someone with social ineptitude and obsession, but they don't really have intelligence. You might find like a lot of video game people on the internet are like this. A lot of anime dweeb, or I'm misusing the word apparently according to this diagram. A video game dork, would be someone who will write out an entire walkthrough on how to beat a certain Final Fantasy game, but there's misspelling errors and they rant on like complete idiots. Therefore, they have the social ineptitude and the obsession, but not quite the intelligence. They're dorks. A lot of the people at the Phoenix Comic-Con, the anime crowd, they're dorks. Dweeb, I don't know. I don't really use that word too much, I guess. Take it, leave it, I don't know. Intelligence and social ineptitude, but without the obsession. The American Nerd book, he was talking about these speech debate team guys, and one guy, he just was really obsessive about the environment and stuff like that, but not really too obsessed. He was kind of more or less a normal person. Maybe you would call him a dweeb, I guess. I don't know. But I think these circles kind of really help out a lot to understand the differences, especially between a nerd and a geek. Geek could be a real cool person who's just into comic books or whatever, like the whole G4 TV crowd. They like to be cool and geeks at the same time, whereas perhaps nerds are just not that socially accepted. Somewhere in here, I might even put in maybe physically awkward. That might play a big part into the whole thing. I am very physically awkward. You might say, Misa clumsy. I'm constantly bumping into things. My wife just laughs just because I just cannot navigate through just anything. I like just bump into stuff and just say, oh, who put this building here? I was always terrible at sports growing up. I lost a lot of motor skills. Apparently, my mom said when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I had a really, really high fever, and it kind of damaged a lot of my motor skills, and they were afraid that there would be some sort of like a permanent residual from that. My parents got me an Atari 2600, and that actually helped out quite a lot, and I was able to regain a lot of my motor skills, but I was really, really bad at sports. Now, when I was, I think, in junior high school, I did watch a lot of Phoenix Suns basketball games with my older sister. She was really into Phoenix Suns, and so I would watch it with her. I wasn't so much interested in the sports team. I was just interested in just bonding with my sister, I guess. And once she moved out, I just didn't watch them anymore. So, Plus, the game seemed rigged, and like the refs were bought out by the mob or something. Like everybody wanted Chicago Bulls to win, and this is like in the early '90s when I was in high school. Michael Jordan this, Michael Jordan that. I mean, yeah, there was Scottie Pippen, but the rest of the team, it was nothing without those two guys. I mean, they were like the Batman and Robin of the Chicago Bulls. But of course, all the jocks in high school, that's like, ooh, they always wore the shirts, and like, well, what about our team? You know, I just thought the whole thing was kind of stupid. So I just, when my sister moved out, I just didn't care about watching basketball. I just really realized how just kind of dumb it was. Perfect example about what a nerd I am. We went to a sports bar to go see a Phoenix Suns game. And I was like always turned off, looking away, and like my friend's like, "Hey, are you enjoying yourself? Are you enjoying yourself?" I was watching figure skating on another TV, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, you just watch your sweaty guys running around. I'm looking at the girls with the perfect bodies floating around on ice. That's a little bit more interesting to me." I was always picked last on the sports team. I just, I got picked on. They called me fag just because I was not good at sports. And according to the playground logic, like starting around 5th grade when other kids started learning about all that kind of stuff, they didn't really stop to think about if a gay guy would really be interested in spending a lot of time getting physically close with sweaty guys. No, it must be the guy who just doesn't like sports. He must be the gay guy. Just, yeah, stupid logic. Again, learn about Venn diagrams. Morons don't understand that kind of stuff. So again, there's your intellect. So again, I was very shy, very introverted. I still kind of am really shy. I clam up at social settings. Like I went to a happy hour. And if there's nobody I know, or if there's somebody I do know but they're like way off and they're talking to somebody else and I'm like forced to talk to new people, I'm just kind of like, I just want to just leave. If I cannot connect with people in some sort of way that reflects some of my obsessions, whether it's, of course, nerdy sci-fi stuff, or like talking about how Monsanto is destroying America, and then I just don't know what to do with people. I just clam up. About my childhood, golly, this, I guess I'll share kind of my progression when I was growing up. So my very first movie I was taken to was Superman, and when that came out in 1978, I guess I was like 2 or 3 years old at the time. I fell asleep. Later I saw the movie on TV and I fell asleep again. I don't know. Superman 2 was kind of cool. I just didn't care for Superman 1. It was just kind of boring. Now, the watershed experience in movie going for me was The Empire Strikes Back in 1980. When I saw that, the Imperial Walkers, floating city in the sky, it just put my imagination in hyperdrive. And it was from that moment on that I was in love with science fiction. Kindergarten, I was shy. I was always a shy kid. And my mom says that after the first day of school, my mom asked me how it went, and I'm like, "Oh, that's fine, but I'm not going to go back there. I don't like it." I just hated school. 2nd grade, though, I made my first true best friend. He had a G.I. Joe lunchbox. I had a Return of the Jedi lunchbox, and I mentioned, "Hey, that's a pretty cool lunchbox," and he's like, "Yeah, yours is pretty cool too," and we kind of hit it off. He was really into the same kind of stuff. But he was also really athletic. I was not. So I was alone a lot during recess, and I would just be sitting there just bouncing a ball, and teachers would try to, find other lonely kids and try to, get us to be friends with each other. But, if all you have in common is just that you're both lonely, that's not really a healthy friendship. I mean, any sort of relationship like that, it might be kind of, codependent. That's just not good. If all you have in common is emptiness, and that's kind of dumb. It's pointless. I'd rather be alone. People don't understand that. But then again, I'm an introvert. 4 things that really shaped my childhood in terms of all this kind of stuff was, of course, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Legos. Legos were just incredibly cool. Also, Mask. Mask was pretty cool. I like that. And I watched Knight Rider, stuff like that. That was really cool. I played with GoBots, but they were just not as cool, I guess. They were the same size as Matchbox cars, so I liked them for that. But the Hanna-Barbera cartoon really sucked. It was just dumb. Friend at Sunday school, he introduced me to Voltron. You know, I had seen Speed Racer when I was a kid. I thought it was okay. But when I saw Voltron, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And this is like big-ass robots that, you know, they split apart. Actually, I started watching it with the vehicle Voltron. I didn't see the Lion Voltron until much later. Lion Voltron is more fantasy. Vehicle Voltron is like space opera, science fiction. The epic space battles, I just thought was the coolest. And it's just the whole, you know, the fleets and all that. I thought that was really cool. Later came Robotech, and I didn't even understand that this stuff was from another country. It was from Japan or anything like that. But Robotech was just, wow, cool. And it's like, people die in this. Holy crap. Wow. It was just amazing, you know, and it's just so much more mature than what we're used to, you know. G.I. Joe, the planes would explode, and like a second later you'd see the parachute fall out. Whatever. It was still cool though, I guess. The G.I. Joe comic book, though, on the other hand, was very violent, and that was cool for itself. And I didn't care much for fantasy, aside from Thundar the Barbarian. I watched that. Never got into Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, I grew up hearing that Dungeons and Dragons was evil, and there was the whole paranoia. Like, a lot of maybe people don't remember this kind of stuff. That these kids killed themselves because apparently their Dungeons and Dragons characters got killed, and so they ended up, I guess they wrote this in a suicide letter, and they just got a shotgun, and blam blam. It's just stupid. I mean, you watch your friend blow his brains out with a shotgun. You can either A, cry for help and say, dear God, what am I doing? This is not right. Or B, say, hey, give me that, it's my turn. Bam. Yeah, I think role-playing games were probably the least of their problems. Plus there was the whole, you know, ooh, it's satanic and all that kind of crap. I grew up, we went to like a real judgmental Baptist church and stuff. No fun. Other obsessions, I really like trains and model railroads. That was pretty cool. HO scale, I had a little test track. That was when I started doing plastic models, was building some train tracks, you know, the buildings and stuff like that. Reading. I loved to read. Reading was just a real big part of my growing up. I taught myself how to read before kindergarten. Went to the public library a lot. My mom enrolled me in summer reading programs at the public library. I'd check out lots of books. I loved choose your own adventure books. My favorite one was Star Patrol. That was really cool. Science fiction books, obviously. I love Peanuts comics as well. My mom would buy me Archie comics, and they weren't DuckTales, but it was like Scrooge comics, and with Uncle Scrooge and Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I like that. I didn't really care for Archie though. Anyhow, didn't really get in a whole lot of comic books except for the Transformers comics by Marvel and an occasional G.I. Joe. I didn't really get into. I mean, I liked Spider-Man and stuff like that when I was a kid growing up. Really younger kid, but I kind of got away from the superhero thing for quite a while. I was reading a lot, and I was reading the Star Wars novelizations by like first or second grade, maybe like the summer after first grade. I read the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. You know, the one that was. It says it was written by George Lucas, but it was ghost written by I forget the name. I don't know. I'll put it in later. But I remember one time this one kid accused me. I was reading the novelization to Empire Strikes Back, written by Donald F. Glut, and this kid was like, "Yeah, you're not really reading that." I'm like, yeah, I am. And he's like, no, you're not reading that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he's like, you thought I was faking it. I got a bunch of kids. They thought I was faking reading these 300-page books when I was like, second grade, but I really was reading those. So whatever. Video games. I had an Atari 2600. I never owned an 8-bit Nintendo, but my other friends had those, and so I just played it with them. Konami. Wow, cool. Life Force, Contra, Russian Attack. That was really cool stuff. In junior high, after my Atari 2600 died, I got an Atari 7800. It's pretty cool for what it was. I like it, but back to reading. 5th grade, my reading really ground to a halt. They were trying to, this is back before science fiction really had the respect that it has now, and my teachers were concerned, and I think my mom was really concerned. I'm reading too much science fiction, and I'm not getting I'm not well-rounded enough, even though everything else bored me. Whatever. 5th grade or so, I was trying to tackle 2001. Oh, look at me! I'm actually reading. I'm wearing the shirt right now. 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, and I got really bogged down with the whole ape thing, and I'm like, had a compromise. I started reading. I started obsessing about like World War II books, action books, that kind of stuff. Learned a lot. Maybe about 5th or 6th grade, my uncle taught me how to build World War II model airplanes, and I did that for a little bit. I got a Spitfire, and I got a Mustang. Lost track of that hobby, so I was mostly, pretty much alone. In the 6th grade, I came out of my shell a little bit and started making other kids laugh, and so, I started using humor to kind of connect with people. But I just kind of soon withdrew. I just didn't, 7th grade especially came along, and I just didn't do it. I just wasn't interested, I guess. I don't know. I just kind of withdrew, and I did my homework in the library. And sometimes my friend Matt, he would come join me doing homework in the library for whatever reason. But I kind of tagged along with some other kids, but they just treated each other like crap all the time. Sometimes they treated me like crap, and I was like, this is dumb. Why am I bothering with this? So but yet still I was trying to delude myself into thinking that I was somehow cool. And I thought that if I was mean to other kids that were also being, they were being picked on, that maybe the bullies would leave me alone. And maybe that was about the same time I started realizing that they're just not worth it. Junior high, girls. I was always terrified of girls. I mean, they were the creatures who threw sand in my face. They would ask to borrow a pen from me in class, and then they wouldn't return it, and they would just, I'd be like, hey, can I have my pen back? Hey, stop following me! Get away from me! And so I just didn't trust girls. I mean, the hormones were kicking in, but just didn't have much interest in them, I guess. Some girls may have been interested in me, but I just ruled it out as a possibility just because I was convinced that girls were just evil. There was one girl, I think maybe she was kind of sweet on me in the 8th grade, named Margie. They called her Large Marge because she was tall, taller for her age. Unfortunately, girls kind of shoot up faster than boys do about that age. But I was just kind of clueless. And my friend Matt, he had really light blonde hair, and he was teased. They called him Albino Boy, and sometimes, they'd even kind of follow him home, throwing rocks at him and stuff. I think I stood by him, and I told him, look, these people aren't worth it. Just leave them alone. They're picking on you. Don't go out of your way to try to gain acceptance from them. They're not worth it. But he felt he had to prove himself and defeat them by gaining acceptance from them. And I just thought that was stupid. I mean, he was really intelligent. He of course he was into the whole science fiction stuff like I was. He wanted to be a Catholic priest, actually. He reintroduced me into Robotech, like in the 8th grade. And so that was pretty cool. And I was at that time like, oh, wait, this stuff is from Japan? Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. I mean, it's got different art style. I thought it was all like from the same animation studio or something. After we graduated, junior high, 8th grade, we went to separate schools. I went to the public school, and he went to a Catholic private school. But we continued to, see each other on weekends and stuff. We'd have sleepovers, talked about science fiction, philosophy, God, everything. We had a really good, deep relationship, and he was a good friend. So it kind of helped out that I had that, because in regular school I didn't have a lot of friends. So the summer after 8th grade, actually, to back up a little bit, my dad bought us our first family computer. Wow, it was a 286 AT PC clone, and it had 2 megs of RAM, and it had a 10 megabyte hard drive. Wow, 10 whole megabytes. I took a college summer class on how to use computers. I think that was even before I started high school. I had actually taken a college class on how to use a computer. I think the first game I got was Arkanoid 2, The Revenge of Doe. I played that like crazy. And this is like when playing games, you'd have to get an ad lib. Or later they came out with the Sound Blaster, just so you can get actually cool sound effects. I really got into a game called Starflight, which had just 16-bit color graphics, and that game was amazing. I mean, Starflight, you can look it up on YouTube. There's some people doing videos of them. Just the fact that you can fit an entire galaxy on a 3.5 inch high density floppy disk. The game was phenomenal. I mean, you had your captain, science officer, communication engineer, and medical doctor, just like Star Trek, and you would explore the galaxy. It was just the coolest thing ever, and I played that like crazy, and then eventually the sequel came out.